here and click directly on opportunities. Now the opportunities dashboard that you see here, you'll have some pipelines. We have our listing pipeline and our buyer pipeline, which just gives you the ability to organize all of your transactions. This is not important from the paperwork side. This is just for your own organization, and I have a lot of other resources that do go through how to set that up. But we're going to go straight to creating an opportunity or a transaction so that you're able to submit the paperwork. So to create an opportunity, we're going to click on this blue Create Opportunity button, and you're going to see this pop up. Okay, Market Center will already be filled in with Keller Williams Select Realty. If you are on a team, you will have your team name filled in here, and you're going to see the owner as the person who's the leader of your team. When I scroll down to the bottom, you're also going to see an assignee field with your own name filled in, and that is important if you are on a team. The assignee field is what gives you access to this transaction, and you can add anyone else from your team so that they can also access the paperwork for this transaction. Now, if you're an individual agent, I'm just going to hit X there. This is going to be grayed out. You're going to have nothing to fill in for team or owner. The opportunity type, we have 4, but you're really only choosing one of the first 2, so that's a listing or a buyer. If you are the listing agent, you're going to do listing. If you're on the buy side, you'll choose buyer. So I'm going to do a buyer just for this one. Now, if you run into the scenario where you're doing both, you're listing their house and also helping them buy their house, you're going to do this twice. You're going to do one as a listing and one as a buyer because those are 2 separate transactions. Next, we have our client. So if you do have the client in your contacts, you can search for them here. So I do have Joe Smith here, but maybe that's not the right Joe Smith. I can actually just click Add New Contact. And so this is if the person's not already in your contacts, you're going to need to add them here. Email address is helpful. If you do plan to use DocuSign, you will need their email address. And of course, if you have their phone number, you can fill it in, but these are optional. You do not need to fill these in. Then you have co-buyer. This is if there is a second person buying this house. So if it's a husband and wife, partners, whoever, you can fill in the second client here. Okay. Opportunity name is going to default to the name of the client and the type of opportunity. So Joe Smith buyer. We do ask that you put the property address in here if you know it already. So if you already have an accepted offer with your buyer and you know what property they're buying, you could come and fill this in here. Now, if you don't know it, you can leave it as is and go back and change it later. Or if it's a listing, you should know it from the beginning anyways, so you can fill that in. Custom tags. This is completely optional and not relevant for paperwork, but that is just a way you can organize your opportunities. We talk about that in a different video. Estimated close date. This is important if you do already have an accepted offer. You can fill in what the closing date is. However, if you don't have an accepted offer, you don't want to fill anything in here quite yet until you know what the actual closing date is going to be. The reason is the brokers will use this date to review files. They're always going to review all of the files that are being submitted in order of closing date, so they're reviewing things that are closing sooner versus closing later. So just make sure to leave that blank if you don't know the closing date yet, and remember to go back and add it in once you do know it. Then we have time frame and budget. Again, these are optional fields just for your own organization. So if you want to keep track of how far out this person is looking to buy, you can do that here, and their budget as well. Commission rate. This is where you're going to fill in your half of the commission. So if it's 5% total and you're getting 2.5, you're just going to fill in that 2.5 here. Then we have opportunity phase and stage, and that's in reference to the pipeline that we looked at the very beginning, where you can track what part of the life cycle of the transaction you're in with this particular deal. So again, this is optional. You can leave it as is if you're not planning to use those organizational features, but you can use this to keep track of where you are with that transaction. Okay. So we're going to hit create, and that has now created our opportunity.